Let's talk about a role that gets misunderstood a lot, but is absolutely crucial for any team that wants to be great: the Scrum Master.
So, what is the difference? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer, well, it goes way deeper than you might think. It's not just about scheduling meetings or clearing roadblocks. It's a totally different way of thinking, a real mastery of a few different roles, or stances.
Okay, so before we dive in, let's just level set with the official definition from the Scrum Guide itself. And the two words you really got to latch onto here are servant leader. See, this is not your typical manager. Their whole job is about putting the team's needs first, helping them get to where they need to go. And that's the key, right? To really get what makes a Scrum Master great, you have to realize it's not just one job title. It's about taking on different roles or stances based on what the team and the situation needs.
Yeah, I love this analogy. A great Scrum Master really does wear a bunch of different hats. One minute they're a teacher, the next they're a coach, and then, boom, they're a facilitator. And being great at this whole thing really comes down to mastering three core areas.
So here they are. We can really break this down into three big ideas. First, you're serving the team. Second, you're guarding the process itself. And third, you're influencing the entire organization to help your team actually succeed. So let's dig into each one of these.
All right, first up, serving the team. This is really the beating heart of that whole servant leader idea we talked about. It's all about empowering the people who are actually in the trenches doing the work. This right here, this is a philosophy that changes everything. Bring it to the team. A great Scrum Master has this deep, almost unshakable belief that the team can figure it out for themselves. So instead of just handing out answers, they're constantly pushing the team to find their own solutions. Because let's be honest, who knows the work better than the people doing it every single day? And here's how that actually looks in practice. See, it's not about being hands-off at all. It's about being a coach, helping navigate tricky team conflicts and building a place where people feel safe. And check out that point about failure. This is so important. A great Scrum Master gets that some of the best learning happens when things go wrong. They won't always jump in and be the hero, because sometimes the lesson is way more valuable than the short-term win. Okay, so that's serving the team. Let's move on to our second big idea, guarding the process. Think of this as being the team's guide on their whole Scrum and agility journey. This is probably one of the biggest distinctions. You've got to understand the difference between the what and the why. Look, any team can just go through the motions, right? Do the daily Scrum, go to sprint planning. That's just the what. But a great Scrum Master makes sure the team gets the why, the principles that make it all work. We're talking transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Without those, the practices are kind of pointless.
Exactly. I mean, without the why, you just have an empty shell. It's what some folks call zombie Scrum. You're doing the rituals, but there's no life, no purpose. A great Scrum Master is always connecting what the team is doing back to these core principles. That way, Scrum becomes a real tool for getting better, not just another set of meetings you have to go to.
There's a great acronym for this from Scrum expert Jeff Watts. He came up with this really memorable way to think about all the qualities you need to guard the process. He says a great Scrum Master is retrained.
And here's what that stands for. You've got to be resourceful, enabling, tactful, respected, alternative, inspiring, nurturing, empathic, and, get this, disruptive. It just shows you, right? This isn't one job description. You're part diplomat, part cheerleader, and part change agent, all rolled into one person.
And that word, disruptive, is the perfect segue to our third and final stance, influencing the organization. Because, let's face it, no team works in a bubble. A great Scrum Master knows their job doesn't stop at the team room door.
You gotta love this phrase, right? The smell of the place. It's all about the company culture. The unwritten rules, the vibe in the hallways, how things actually work around here versus what the official process says. A great Scrum Master has a nose for this stuff. They're tuned in, and they actively work to make the environment better, to clear those bigger organizational roadblocks so the team has a real chance to succeed.
And that's where being disruptive comes in. Sometimes, to create that change, you have to shake things up. You have to be willing to challenge the way we've always done it. That means having some tough conversations with leadership, pushing back on policies that are just getting in the way. It takes a ton of courage, for sure, but it's the only way to make real, lasting change happen. Okay, so we've walked through those three stances, but here's where it all leads.
to this really interesting, almost paradoxical conclusion about what it means to be great.
Just think about this for a second. The whole point, all the coaching, the teaching, the serving, is to get the team to a place where they're so good, so self-sufficient, that they don't need you anymore, at least not day to day. Your ultimate success is literally to work yourself out of a job. Wild, right?
Now, we need to be really clear about what this means, because it's a subtle point, but it's a huge one. Being dispensable just means the team doesn't need you for the daily grind. They can run their own meetings, solve their own problems. But that's different from being wanted. Being wanted means they still seek you out for your advice, for your perspective. You shift from being the daily coach to being a trusted advisor.
And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. For anyone in this kind of role, a coach, a leader, the real measure of your success isn't how much people depend on you. It's how incredibly well they do when you're not around. That's the true mark of great servant leader. So the question is, are you ready for a challenge like that?